with that, we will get started. We're going to talk about igniting your Shabbat flame. We're going to talk about tradition, Shabbat magic around the Moisheverse. You'll be able to share everything that you're doing and that others are doing around different houses and all the MHWOW hosts on the call too. We'll talk about screen detox and especially why it's so important right now. We'll go into breakout groups for a few minutes, and then we will reveal our newly designed Shabbat Nick to you all, and we'll be able to share out that resource at the end of this call. So yeah, thanks everyone for being here. And I just want to share my favorite part of Shabbat with you all, and then I'll invite you all to share as well. Right now, it's really important for me to have some time away from screens, and that's something that I'm trying to embody in my practice and trying to incorporate into my daily life every day, but especially on Shabbat. So something I'm going to do this weekend that I've started to do is to turn off my phone, to turn off my computer, to really try to live in the present moment. And I'm going to pass it to Leah to share what her favorite part of Shabbat is, and then we'll pass it to the rest of the group.
Yeah. So the last year or so, I've started to actually make the challah for our Moishe House Shabbats. For a while, we were just buying from the store, but I started to take the time to actually make challah, and it's just made our Shabbats way more special. I love like sharing that with the community and seeing them get all excited about challah. And yeah, so that's become my new favorite part. And they're delicious. Jake is saying so.
Oh, resident approved. Everybody, I will invite you to share what's your favorite part of Shabbat. Share it in the chat so we can see what you're thinking and what you're doing to celebrate Shabbat right now. Chillaxing, bringing people together, even virtually, it's important. Connecting with family, community, love it. Spending time with friends, the feeling of Shabbat, challah, long walks outside, disconnecting and connecting. Hanging with your mama. Family time is important, even if you have to do it over FaceTime. Love these answers. Keep them coming, everybody. And be sure to look in the chat to see what other people are doing. All right. I think we are on this slide. Yeah. Unstress yourself. Leah has a story to share about how sometimes we have stressful experiences and how Shabbat can be a respite for that. So I'm going to pass it back to Leah.
Yes. So I'm going to tell a story of a time that was very stressful. I feel like we all have those stressful Shabbat prep stories. So I want to share one of mine. And as I share, I want you to put your hands together like this. And the more stressed it gets, the more stressed you feel. Clench your hands even harder and harder throughout the story. All right. So like I said before, I am both a Moishe House Portland resident and I work for Portland Hillel, and I try to do a good job at planning and not having Shabbat on the same night, but you know, sometimes it happens. So this time I had 2 Shabbats in one night, and we were having, it was like for Sukkot, we were having a Shabbat Lewis and Clark, and it was my job to get like beverages and pizza. So in my trunk, I had like a big jug of lemonade and iced tea and soda. And then I drove to Costco to pick up some Costco pizzas. And I'm driving there and I like almost miss a turn and like make a sharp turn. And I get there and I don't know if anybody else, I feel like I get nervous sometimes going to places when I know I have to buy like 20 things of vegetable stock. That's super weird. If you don't know, I like feed 1 million people. So I was feeling nervous about picking up my like 5 pizzas. I get there and it's like, first off, I try to use my Hillel credit card. It doesn't work because they need a debit card. So I have to use my own debit card. Then everyone that's coming after me is getting their pizza and I'm sort of feeling like, I've been forgotten or something's wrong. And I kind of get this look from the guy behind, giving me a look like, sorry, like we messed up. Like it's going to be like 5 to 10 more minutes. And I'm looking at the clock and it's ticking down. And even though we, try to get there early, I'm worried that they're going to have no pizza at the Shabbat because I'm going to take forever. It's getting to like rush hour time. Finally, after like 15 minutes, I get my pizza. I like stack it high in my cart. I walk outside and it's raining because it's in Portland. The pizzas are getting soaked. I parked like so far away from the food center. Why? I'm running in the rain with my pizzas. I make it to the car, open my trunk to find that I guess when I made that sharp turn, something made the lemonade spill all over my trunk. And I don't have like a carpeted trunk. I have like a hard trunk. So there's like an inch puddle of lemonade in my trunk just sloshing around. So put the pizzas in my back seat, don't have time to clean it up, drive to Lewis and Clark, get there, put the pizzas down. We realized that we don't have enough pizza because way more people showed up than had showed up in the whole year. So my supervisor has to call Domino's, get them to deliver pizza. Finally, everyone is able to get pizza, and then I'm off and on to my second Shabbat of the night. As I'm driving home, I see a dead cat on the side of the road that I don't even have time to process. I just move on, keep driving, get home. When I get to my house, all I can think about is making a beeline for the towels, but I know my house is going to be filled with people. I open the door and it's from where I'm standing to the towels is a straight line. I just see different boss levels of people I have to get through in order to get to the towels. So it's see one person and then I see a second person that, is kind of trapping me in a conversation. I'm trying to get by. See a third person, so excited. I haven't seen them in forever, but I'm also trying to communicate that I have a task to complete. I'm in the middle of a mission. I get to the towels. I go outside back to my car. I spend way too long trying to clean up this lemonade out of my trunk. It's I have to scoop it out and I'm patting it down. I'm trying to get Clorox wipes to make sure it's not sticky. At some point, a car pulls up behind me and it just has their headlights flaring on me. And I'm worried I'm about to get pushed into my own trunk and kidnapped. So I finally get it all cleaned up. I go back inside. Everyone, unclench your hands. That feeling is how we should all feel ideally when we walk into the Shabbat, but that can't always happen when we're leading it because there's logistics we're worrying about. Who knows what's been going on during that week? We're in a pandemic. All different things are happening. So we're going to talk about different things today that can help you get to that unstressed, relaxed mindset, no matter what happened before, to enjoy the Shabbat that you're at.
Leah, you are a Shabbat hero. And so is everyone else on this call.
All right. It's a little laggy, so if you went to the next slide, I can't see it yet.
We are on the Moishe House magic slide, and Leah's going to share a little bit about what some of the houses are doing right now.
Beautiful. Yeah, so before I talk about what other houses are doing, I wanted to share some things that my house are doing. Because I, put on lots of Shabbats between Hillel and Moishe House, I felt I got to this place where Shabbat seemed like a chore to me, and I felt the times that I was actually enjoying Shabbat were the times I wasn't hosting a Shabbat. And I felt that shouldn't be that way. That's pretty ironic. I should be relaxing on the Shabbat. So I tried to think of ways that I can make Shabbat enjoyable for myself. And two things that my roommates and I have been doing that have been really helping. One is inviting the people that you like. So if there's someone that it's going to make the call so much better, it's going to make the event so much better when they're there, taking the time to personally invite them. So my roommates and I will each pick 3 to 5 people, invite them. And then the second thing is also thinking what do I want to get out of this? What do I need right now? What's something that's going to make me have fun? Because if I don't want to go to my event, why should anyone want to go to my event? So those are the two things that's been helping me and my house. So some other things Moishe houses have been doing, some little fun ideas. Moishe House Hoboken, shout out Cake Boss. They did a live Havdalah jam sesh. I love that. Moishe House Mosaic Fairfax has been doing a weekly virtual Shabbat and community check-in. Moishe House Barcelona held a virtual Shabbat dinner. An option if you don't want to actually host a virtual program on Shabbat, if you keep Shabbat, Moishe House Miami Midtown recorded a challah baking video and then just posted it that night. I can see like it looks beautiful, that challah. In Moishe House Williamsburg had 70 plus attendees from 4 different countries. The great thing about this time, attend a Havdalah via Zoom, Facebook Live, and Instagram Live. Awesome.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing, Leah.
Mm-hmm.
And tradition. Shabbat is all about tradition. It's one of the core tenets of Judaism. And there's a great quote here on the screen that I would love if someone would want to volunteer to read it.
Sure.
I could read it.
Thank you, Eric. Or Mike, whoever. Mike, is that you?
I think Eric said it first. Eric, you want to read it?
Go for it, Mike. Eric.
Both at the same time.
The meaning of the Sabbath is to celebrate time rather than space. 6 days a week, we live under the tyranny of things of space. On the Sabbath, we try to become attuned to holiness and time. It is a day on which we are called upon to share in what is eternal in time, to turn from the results of creation to the mystery of creation, from the world of creation to the creation of the world.
Thank you so much for reading that, Eric. This is a quote from Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel. He was a very influential Jewish scholar and philosopher in the 20th century. And he wrote a book called The Sabbath, and where he talks about his take on Shabbat, and I would encourage any of you to read it. It's a very powerful book, and it's also a short read too. So you could probably get it done in a weekend if you wanted to. Let's unpack some of these things about Shabbat specifically. Shabbat is a time for rest and relaxation. And where does this idea of rest come from? As Heschel recalls, it comes from the fact that God, created the world in 6 days and took the 7th day as a day of rest. And so we are supposed to do that too. And sometimes we're not able to rest fully, especially in a virtual society and in a virtual time like we live in now. So that could look different, from person to person. And some people, have to work on Saturdays. So I encourage all of you to find some rest in whatever that looks like for you. Maybe it's sleeping in, maybe it's, going for a walk, talking to an old friend. There's lots of ways to find some rest during Shabbat. Connection and reflection. A lot of you mentioned like connecting to family, connecting to friends. These are all great things to do on Shabbat. When Shabbat is over, I try to give my parents a call, which they really like. And also disconnecting from the things that you need to disconnect from. I try not to, for example, like sit at my work Zoom setup over the weekend. I don't want to be in the headspace of work. And so the physical space that you use on Shabbat is important to keep in mind as well. Eating a lot of challah, absolutely. And if you're gluten-free, find your gluten-free challah that works for you. Food is comforting, and Shabbat is a time for comfort. So eat the foods that you want to eat and that will help you celebrate the day. And celebrating the tradition, whatever that looks like for you. We all sort of grew up with, different Shabbat traditions, or perhaps we didn't grow up with any Shabbat traditions. And so now with home-based Jewish ritual being like a really important aspect of this time, it's a great opportunity to start and to experiment even with different ways of your Shabbat practice that you really might not have had before. One thing I wanted to mention that we did last year, and I think Ziva, who staffed the retreat with me, is on the call. We had a retreat called Take Back Saturday, Shabbat as a 25-hour experience. And the idea of the retreat was to give different touch points throughout the 25 hours of Shabbat, and to sort of unpack this idea that Shabbat is Friday night dinner for a lot of people, and it's a lot more than that, and it can be a lot more than that if you want it to be. There's like sunrise on Shabbat morning. There are different opportunities for prayer on Saturday rather than just Friday. There's the idea of the third meal, which you know, can be like a snack before dinner, or it can be like dinner itself on Saturday. You're like halachically, technically in Jewish 3 meals before you make Havdalah. And Havdalah is a great ritual in and of itself that allows us to, you know, put Shabbat aside for a time and go back to our regular lives. And yeah, it was an awesome retreat, and we'd be happy to share out some of the learnings from that to everyone else on this call. Screen detox. Like I said, this is really important for me right now. You know, working in the jobs that we have, where, you know, Zoom calls are basically the only way of connecting and seeing other people right now. It's all more important to take time away from screens on the weekend and on Shabbat in particular. I always say on retreats, like, you know, for someone, you know, screen time might actually enhance their Shabbat experience. And, you know, I think it's sort of tough right now because like we're all on screens all the time. So I kind of want to like take a step back from that philosophy that, you know, sometimes I have, because I just think that like we're all on screens so much. But of course, if there is some like virtual thing that allows you to connect with other people and allows you to celebrate your Shabbat practice, just own it and be grateful for it, and be sure to build in time to escape from the screens into the rest of your week. Here are some ways that you can connect with folks virtually about Shabbat. And yeah, I just encourage you all to find some time away from the screens. The Shabbat flow. Shabbat can have an arc, you know, like I mentioned, it's like a 25-hour experience, and I try to think of it in the context of the whole day rather than just Friday night. When you're working on your Shabbat practice and refining what that looks like for you, even pick like a small aspect of it to be consistent. It'll allow you to continue your practice week to week, and make sure it's meaningful for you. If there's something that you did that maybe you grew up with that isn't meaningful for you, give yourself the permission to innovate. Give yourself the permission to try new things, and share it with other people that with other people what you're trying, and maybe they'll want to try it too. Does what you're doing spark joy? Make sure that there's some value add to you, like emotionally and to your community, and that you're not just, you know, gathering for the sake of gathering, but that you're gathering with intention and with purpose. And make sure to rest. Make sure to rest and incorporate relaxation into your day. And I think with that, we are going to go to breakout groups, and we will discuss the following questions in our breakout groups. Why is Shabbat important to you, and how do you share this with your community members? What would make Shabbat special on camera? What online or virtual platforms would be most effective for this? How can you engage your community without using screens on Shabbat? And if you had to plan a really great Shabbat program, what would it include? What would you want the theme of your program to be? And how would you get others to join in on the theme? How would you develop some buy-in there? So we will have 15 minutes in breakout groups.
Yeah,
and
so Jonah, we're actually having technical difficulties and can't make the breakout group. So instead, Molly is going to lead us in these discussion questions as a group.
Awesome.
And so maybe we can send these questions in the chat and then stop sharing the screen so we can like see everyone.
Yeah. Molly or LJ?
One big great breakout room. Yes, Jake. You're all invited to breakout room too.
Love the enthusiasm, Jake. Molly or LJ, is one of you able to share the questions in the chat? Thanks.
Hi, y'all. I am super excited that all of you were able to be on this call today. You know, everybody experiences technical difficulties in this day and age, and you just got to roll with it. You know, you just got to make it what it is and go with the flow, kind of what we talked about earlier, going with that Shabbat flow. You know, you saw the little SpongeBob like waving around. So Shabbat's a really exciting thing for a lot of people, right? Like all of you wouldn't be on this call if you weren't excited about Shabbat. It's a way to, you know, connect and kind of like sit back and relax and think about like your week before, you know, what happened this week that was either really exciting to you, or what were some of the challenges that you went through this week that you can kind of just let go of, similar to what Leah was saying earlier when she did that really cool story share of hers, when you just kind of like let go of your hands at the end. I'm sure some of your hands felt a little like tired. You were squeezing so hard because it was so stressful, but at the end you were able to let go and realize, oh, that felt so much better. So we're going to talk a little bit about some questions that I would love for some of you to answer, but we'll do it in kind of a fun way. Are y'all familiar with this little button on the bottom of your screen? It's like a little smiley face that looks like it says reactions on it. Can I just get like a thumbs up from everybody if y'all can see that? Groovy. Awesome. Yay. Some of you are using it. Yeah. Look at all those thumbs. Okay. That's awesome. So there's a thumbs up. There's like a high five or a hand, like whatever. So I'm going to ask some discussion questions, and I would love to hear some of your thoughts on these and your answers. So if you can either raise, you know, click the little reaction hand or the thumbs up hand, I'd love to see that, and I will call on whoever does that on some of these questions. So the first one we have is, why is Shabbat important to you, and how are you sharing this with your community members right now? So I'd love to know some of the things that you have already done, or maybe what you're planning on doing in order to continue, you know, sharing that Shabbos magic that you've done before we went into this virtual reality of ours. So does anybody want to share that out with the group? Love to see some emoji reactions. I don't see any. Oh, hey, Jake Sullivan. You got it. Let's share out.
Hi. Well, something special about Shabbat recently has been getting to spend more time with the housemates. Like usually, you know, Leah was talking about Shabbat being kind of logistically a lot to deal with sometimes, a lot of food. So we've done some virtual Shabbats, but one of my favorite things about Shabbat recently has been just spending time with the housemates and doing an angel cards activity where we all just pick a word out of this deck of angel cards and reflect on our week. And personally, this has been probably the most meaningful Shabbat practice I've ever done, with lighting candles and doing this angel cards consistently for the last 6 weeks or so at this point. And so that's not exactly something that I'm sharing with the community, but I'm sharing it with my housemates. And it's really special to get to actually do that together and, you know, have some actual rest. And sometimes we just do other fun activities, but it's nice to get to spend that time together.
Jake, that was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that with all of us. You know, connecting with your roommates, or just connecting with, you know, your community members, whether it's on a Zoom call or, you know, sharing some light at the beginning of the day before Shabbat starts, can really have such an impact on everyone around you, but yourself as well. So thank you so much for sharing your message. Something personally that I started doing that I'll share with y'all is, I wasn't really great at lighting Shabbat candles ever, was never great at making challah, nothing. But I really wanted a way to connect with the world, and I felt really inspired by watching all of the different Moishe houses put on these really cool programs. And I said, you know what, I'm totally going to start lighting Shabbos candles. And I've probably made like 2 challahs a week at this point. A lot of people are pretty happy about that. Me, in terms of buying flour, not so much, but it's something I've done as a way to connect with, my family and people around me that also want to be part of that experience. So does anyone else want to share what they've done to, share your Shabbos flame and your light with other community members? It can be something super simple, even like, something as much as like texting or giving them a call, FaceTime. Did someone say something? I can't see. I don't know. Maybe not. Okay. And again, Talia, yes, Talia, please share with us.
I'm not great at doing like simple things, like texting people. That makes way more sense than the things that I do. A couple of people and I planned a like virtual pizza party where we actually delivered pizza via DoorDash and Grubhub to people, which was kind of a mess. But like the fact that we were all eating the same thing really brought us together. We're also working on doing like a Shabbat Wine-Tasting, in which, again, not simple, I would be delivering bottles of wine to people, and then we would all be drinking the same thing. But I think the act of us all doing the same thing as if we were in person, instead of like one person's eating chips, one person's eating popcorn, one person's drinking lemonade, like it's a lot of work, but it seems like people appreciate the effort, and I'm happy to do it. So that's been good.
Incredible, Talia. Wine is fine, I will tell you that, and especially Shabbos wine. So all you winos out there, get you some Shabbos wine, and great way to connect with people, especially now. Like a lot of people have been doing virtual happy hours and stuff like that. So, why not do like a pre-game Shabbos Kiddush or something like that on Zoom, or something in a way that you all can share that same experience, with something that tastes really good, but is also a connection to our traditions of Shabbat. So let's go to our second question. So what would make Shabbat extra special on camera? This is something none of us have really ever had to do before, if we're being honest. In some synagogues, they might like host a their program for different high holidays or something like that for folks who can't necessarily be there in person. So how do we continue to make this special and magical for our community members around us, whether it's through the camera or on different social media platforms? If anybody wants to share how they feel about that. Do I need to start singing? So that
just pretend you're in a breakout room, people. Just imagine there's only like 2 people listening.
Thank you, Jake.
Speaker view helps.
Also, just a couple of things. Hi, this is Lauren from New York, he, him. I'm not somebody who uses technology on Shabbat, so I have found, though, that meditations can actually work really well. Facilitated meditations, whether you do it in your own room or on Zoom, they actually work really well. So having somebody lead like a sort of Shabbat framing mindfulness meditation, and just being able to see other people beforehand, I think, for those who are not using technology, can be really comforting. And I think also something that can be done, and maybe this is more, I don't know if it's more complex, but just having, different people come up with a different pre-Shabbat song. Maybe you have like a Spotify list or some sort of, Shabbat mood. And each person can play that one song, whether it's through the computer or if they have a guitar, play that. And you can have a dance party beforehand or just sit and listen. And, I feel like these days it's so hard to get into the Shabbat mood sometimes, because it's not like you come home from work, like I'm sitting in my room and Shabbat wasn't 2 seconds ago and now it is Shabbat. So sometimes music can, I think, help, bridge that transition and doing it with other people.
Thanks for sharing, Lauren. I think also we had, is that Shara or Shara Caitlin? You had your hand raised. Do you want to share a little bit with us?
So, hi everyone, I'm Shara. So kind of opposite of what Lauren said, I do use technology on Shabbat, and I've found that it's been able to kind of bridge the gap, because even though we're not technically primarily Zoom. So I'm talking from Zoom. It's harder when you're on a live platform like Facebook or Instagram, because although people can tune into you, you can't really have that same interaction. But we've been doing a lot of programming in our Young Jewish Professionals group here through Zoom. And it's nice because it bridges the gap, and it also allows you to see people in their home element. So although you're missing the in-person connection, you're also seeing kind of a glimpse into their life and their perspective from their own environment. And it's a nice way to kind of have everyone combine in that sense. And I think also just making like taking lemons and making lemonade, like, yes, this is a very unprecedented time, but it's allowing us, at least personally, to connect with people from all over the world that I wouldn't necessarily have been able to meet just in person. So I think it's kind of both ways, being able to create positive experiences from it.
Beautiful. Love it. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Tanya has her thumb up. You want to share with us?
So yes, first of all, Shara, thank you so much. And I wanted to actually add this, that we had a Shabbat where residents from Toronto, Atlanta, and Philadelphia met on Shabbat, and it was so beautiful, you know, and everybody, another thing was very beautiful, that everybody lit the candles simultaneously and showed it, like, safety first, but you can safely show it to the screen, and it's like, it was very beautiful. For a second, your screen was just like, basically like lighting with candles. Was very beautiful. Other thing I think is Shabbat is a lot about separation, like the mundane from holy, from working days, from like resting days. And I feel like right now we don't really have a lot of separation, but we still can create it. And for example, to just like change your shirt for like a fresh one, it always helps. Like, I don't know, like make your space a little nicer. I don't know, bring a bouquet of flowers to you, or just like move with your, if you're using technology, move with your computer to like a nicer space of your house. Don't sit at the table where you work. I sit at this table constantly, and I start to hate this. So just like maybe move into a nicer corner, or I don't know, just arrange it differently. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Tanya. Does anybody else want to share really quickly before we move on? Yeah. Well, if you have anything else to share, like, please feel free to put that in the chat. We'd love to hear about like either, you know, the experiences that you've had so far, or, you know, how you believe that you can still make this a really incredible, special, magical, awesome experience for, you know, not only yourself, but your community members, and make them feel engaged and like super stoked that, wow, we got this really cool Shabbat message before Shabbat started, or wow, they're doing a candle lighting and they want to have a chat with us, or wow, they're doing a jam sesh. All of these things are super incredible. There's so many ways that you can take this and get creative, that you can still be engaging with people. So please feel free to continue sharing in the chat. We'd love to see what you have to say. And I would love to also encourage you that if you're thinking of doing a theme or something to get people connected, that might be something pretty cool to do as well. So one thing you might all have noticed from this slideshow is that it's very like 90s themed, right? Something most of us can probably connect to. So I would encourage y'all to think of some cool, funky theme that might connect to your community members, and that might feel like that's something for them to be like, oh, I'm totally going to that because like I'm a 90s kid and I want to be part of this like Rugrats showdown. So I would definitely encourage y'all to get creative, and we can totally have that discussion too. I want to throw it back over to Jonah and Leah for the rest of the presentation, but thanks y'all so much for participating in this discussion. I love and enjoy hearing your thoughts, and hope you get excited to host your Shabbat programs next.
Thank you, Molly. Awesome pivot. Great job. I'm going to share my screen again. And I have an awesome announcement to share with you all, which is that we have a new Shabbat Nick for the first time in at least 4 years, I think. It's been revised to reflect current Moishe House branding. And for those of you that, I should explain what the Shabbat Nick is. For those of you who don't know what the Shabbat Nick is, it's basically a resource that will guide you through the 25 hours of Shabbat. So it does have the prayers and the rituals and the blessings and everything for Friday night. It also has things for throughout the weekend. I'm going to share with you momentarily what this looks like. So here's like a double-sided view, and we currently have access to this in PDF format, and we're going to work to make sure that it's printed and sent out to you as soon as possible. Yeah, Samuel, great question. We will send it to everybody who registered for the call, so you will get this before the end of the week. And I encourage you to use it and to use it with your community members to the extent that it, elevates your experience. A lot of people have, contributed to this throughout the years, so it's really a living document, and we want it to continue to be that way. So I look forward to hearing your thoughts on the Shabbat Nick and how you're incorporating it into your practice. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Leah.
Awesome. So the next thing we're going to talk about is Shabbatis. I love a Shabbat pun. So what's the best way to get an idea for Shabbat? To steal one from your fellow Moishe houses. So I really encourage you to attend, because now you can easily attend any Moishe house's program. You don't have to fly to Oakland to do it. I could see my friend Micah, shout out, just by logging on to their Zoom call. So I encourage you to attend other people's Moishe House programs and invite your friends to your programs. And if you want a list of them, Moishe House has them all on moishehouse.org/the living room. So I think got that shout out to put our events on the calendar so that other people can see them. So yeah, there's so many events going on every day that you can attend and get ideas and get inspired from your fellow Moishe House residents.
Thanks, Leah. Yeah, the living room is our clearinghouse for all of your events. So be sure to put them on there so that folks from other houses and MH Wow hosts can join your events too. I like to think of challenges as opportunities. And, if anything, the silver lining of this, for me, is that we have an opportunity to sort of take part in each other's rituals in a way that we never would have been able to before. And so I really encourage you all to take a look at this and to join into some houses, where you might have a friend or where you'll make a new friend. And I just think this is a great thing that we have this year. And I'm, looking forward to hearing how you all integrate into each other's events. And with that,
Jake, I think your community manager will automatically put the programs into the living room once you share them on your Google Calendar.
Amazing.
Cool. Just wanted to make sure we all knew how to do that.
Can I quickly share an amazing Shabbat thing that just occurred right now as we're on Shabbat call?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm from Houston. Molly's my community manager. And we have this amazing community member that his mom makes the greatest challahs ever. And so literally in the middle of this call right now, I just got a doorbell ring, door closed, sitting outside, massive. He said he was going to bring us a challah. I did not think he was going to. And he brings them to our Shabbats, and he brought us this amazingly massive, delicious challah that's the size of my freaking body. And it's so funny that we're talking about Shabbat right now, because this thing is unbelievable ways. It's like a small baby. And just as we're talking about it, so I thought I would share this huge challah with you guys and say how amazing Shabbat can be for people and how it brings people to cook awesome things and do cool stuff. So I just thought it was very funny that I got it literally right as we were talking about this whole conversation. Size of the computer, challah.
Wow. Yay. Thank you for sharing that, Daniel. That's awesome.
You're welcome.
Daniel, love it. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming. This was really great. And I'm glad, I'm just going to name it too. I'm glad that we were able to make it work with the technical difficulties. And I think it wound up better than I would have expected. So thanks everybody for participating, for showing up and, finding the new link, and to the staff team for making it happen. Really appreciate all the effort and the time. Near Far, wherever you are, continues next week. And it's at a different time and on a different day. So be sure to make note of that. It's on Wednesday, the 27th, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. London time. And the topic is virtual gatherings. Invite anyone in the world, with our very own Director of Global Communities, Ava Sroot. Ava, you're on the call, aren't you?
I am.
You want to say anything special about what we're going to be talking about next week?
Yes. So we are going to talk about how to take the advantage, which was already mentioned on this call, how to take the advantage of this weird time where we are all online, and how to invite literally anyone in the world to your programs, how to make it accessible, inclusive, and diverse. And it's not going to be only me. I also invited 3 Moishe House residents. So we will have Moishe House resident from Boston, Cambridge. We will have a Moishe House resident from Barcelona and Tel Aviv RSJ. And also we'll speak a little bit about Shavuot, which is coming up the day after. And that's why we moved the Near Far to Wednesday, because Thursday evening for us in the London or Central European time is already Chag starting. That's why we decided to move it to Wednesday. We'll also touch a little bit on what Shavuot has to say about inclusivity and diversity. So please invite all of your roommates, all of your friends at Moishe House. It will be amazing, not only because the content will be amazing, but also because the residents have such amazing stories and so many amazing tips and tricks on how to do virtual programs for anyone in the world.
Awesome. It sounds great, Ava. Thank you for the preview. And I'm glad we were able to move the time to accommodate for Chag, just a tangible demonstration of exactly what you're talking about. I'm really excited for that one. And thanks everybody again for coming. And before you leave, I'm going to turn it back to LJ, who has a quick poll for us to do before we depart from the call.
That isn't working either, so.
No poll this week.
Well, if y'all want to type in the chat really quickly of who your dream Shabbat dinner guest would be, I'd love to see who that is. So please type in the chat before you leave who your dream Shabbat dinner guest would be. I really want to see these answers. So, but thanks y'all for coming. Very, very happy. Gal Gadot, of course. Larry David, yes. Love Larry David. These are great. Beyonce, always.
Someone said Leah Chasen.
Woo! Honored.
So sweet. Someone said Vale.
Cute.
Love the camaraderie, love the good vibes.
Yes.
Cardi B and my mom. I love that balance. I love the balance of that answer.
Cardi B's mom.
And as I mentioned to everybody previously, we'll be sure to send out the PDF of the Shabbat Nick to you all, because you're all on the registration link. So look out for that and be sure to share it with your community. And with that, I think we're all done. So thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you for joining.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Thank you.
Go make that Shabbos magic. Can't wait to see what y'all do.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, y'all.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye. Thank you.